The easiest way to disempower charlatans is to demystify peace and meditation and the journey thereof. Who can forget that wonderful line from Game of Thrones? The night is dark and full of terrors. I remember when I first turned on or became extremely curious about Buddhism. I was gifted a book by the Dalai Lama titled The Path of Enlightenment, which was kind of deceptively written because it claims to be a complete path to enlightenment. But then it says, oh yeah, by the way, you can't complete the path until you learn special things that are not found in this book. So now go quickly find a tantric master. So armed with that, I pulled out the yellow pages. Yes, children, the yellow pages existed way back in the early 90s, and hunted for Dharma centers and just called them out of the blue. Do you teach Tibetan Tantra? Can you help me become a Buddha? And I finally someone finally picked up the phone and answered my questions, and the next time they had a public meeting, I was there, and I started my journey. And boy, were they coercive. They were totally coercive. They preyed upon my enthusiasm and my lack of knowledge to coerce me with fear and overwhelm me with nomenclature, which is a typical process. But you know what prevented them from manipulating me and coercing me successfully? Is if I knew the science behind peace and meditation. What's the opposite of peace? I think we can agree the opposite of peace would be fear, terror, and rage. The seat of both terror and rage is at the bottom of the brain, a bit called the amygdala. No, let's not hate on the amygdala. It served an important purpose, evolutionarily speaking. It hominids born without an amygdala, without the ability to feel fear or aggression, didn't live long enough to pass on their genetic material. So we are the inheritors of those who are frightened enough and anxious enough and aggressive enough to survive. So, but still, the liberation the Buddha offers us is not liberation from the potential to experience terror or rage, but from the tyranny of terror and rage. You see, there's another hunk of meat in our brain, this bit right here, the anterior cingulate gyrus, and it has evolved for empathy, which is the basis of compassion and love and all that kind of good things. In other words, this is that which makes us into the people that our dogs already think we are. Now, there can be quite a journey between the amygdala, the tissue of the amygdala, and the tissue of the anterior cingulate gyrus might just be a handful of centimeters apart from each other. But not all love is created equal. Some is empathetic and the other is peaceful. So the question is not just how do we access empathy, but how do we do it in a peaceful and sustainable manner? And that brings our attention to the autonomic nervous system. The first half we're going to explore is the sympathetic nervous system. It is ensconced within the thoracic region of our spinal cord. Now, this artist's rendition really means well. It's not anatomically perfect, but that's okay. So it correlates to the thoracic region of our spinal cord. That's the region of our rib cage. And it has evolved not for active concentration, because active concentration is actually antithetical to survival. Consider this, if you will. Two of our ancient ancestors, two hominids, have climbed out of the trees and are exploring the Serengeti. One is fascinated by a ladybug, and the other is twitchy, and they smell and hear everything. And the moment they perceive a predator, they're out of there. The other one is oblivious to the predator because they're just focused on the ladybug. So rather than support active concentration, the sympathetic nervous system simply supports the practice of perception, vulnerable, passive, visceral, and random. Thus, we are wired to perceive the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. We can perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We can experience emotion, intention, thoughts, memory, and imagination. But what do we do with these things that we can experience? That brings us to the second half of our autonomic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system. It too is ensconced within the spinal cord, but this time in the lower lumbar region as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. It is evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. So when we have a healthy meditation practice, we practice it correctly and enthusiastically at least once every 12 hours or so. We are able to notice what we are experiencing, and we're able to process what we're experiencing. And that helps us not only to access empathy, but access it in a peaceful, loving, sustainable manner. So this morning, we're going to be working with techniques, 4 categories of techniques. Energy work, contemplation, mindfulness, meditation. Some of the contemplation will be silent, some of the contemplation will be mantra empowered. All these techniques, they're not supposed to be mystical. They're supposed to be open practices. But, Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything is crap, including meditation teachers. According to Sturgeon's Law, and according to Lao Tzu, the author of the 81 poems of the Tao Te Ching, 90% of meditation teachers tend to be rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, whereas a severe minority are traversing the path of being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Teachers of the second category are not going to try to coerce you. They're not going to try to control you. They're not going to try to manipulate you. So what I'd like to do is tie these thoughts or link these thoughts to the 29th verse of the total space of Vajrasattva, or as it's known in Tibet, Dorje Sampa Namkache. It is arguably the source text of Dzogchen penned in the Swat Valley in it's either the 6th century or the 600s. That always confuses me. So let's chant together. It is one totally beyond an aspect. The yogi dwells in the pathways of birds in the sky. In the essence that never occurred and never originated, where are all phenomena supposed to exist? So this returns us to the play of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Whenever we physically relax into our exhalation, whatever we might have noticed during the previous inhalation, now we're going to be figurative, could feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. It could feel as if it was as non-graspable as the illusion of the infinite azure sky in a bright and beautiful cloudless day, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, is intangible to the hand. It could be as non-graspable as if it had never been born. It could be as non-graspable as if it could never die. This non-graspability is not something difficult that we have to spend decades getting a PhD to understand. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha taught that full enlightenment could be accomplished within 7 years, or 7 quarters, or 7 months, or 7 fortnights, or 7 weeks, or even 7 days. When we can infer from that, the path is supposed to be easy. Just by working with our ability to notice and relax, we can accomplish the Buddha's path. I look forward to chanting and meditating with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent more than 8 hours a day studying, practicing, mastering, and then reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. This morning's practice text, Dojim Lingpa's Tesar Nondra, was composed by Dojim Lingpa in the 1800s. In the 1900s, it was translated under the supervision of Chagdud Tulku, and I myself have adapted it and amplified it so that hopefully make it more so that it makes more sense to you, ordinary folk like you and I. So we're going to begin with Ana Yoga Tantra's energy work, just like I told you about during the lesson. So please place your hands in the puckered palm position overhead and chant with me. O Majo Lama, please come to this crown, the infallible constant protector who knows all Dharma things. O Majo Lama, please come to this crown, O infallible constant protector who knows all Dharma things. O Majo Lama, please come to this crown, O infallible constant protector who knows all Dharma things. And so now, together as a team, let's meditate as transformatively as Obi-Wan Kenobi upon the sands of Tatooine under the guidance of the Force Ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn. As children, the first bicycle we received most likely had training wheels. They were clunky, but they got the job done. Similarly, we're going to start off today. We're going to warm up with something a trifle clunky. As we inhale, we can silently and mentally recite perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. And as we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. Consider, if you will, this copulating couple. The female, the color of a cumulus cloud, is sporting in tantric union. The fellow, the color of the sky of the azure sky, is just relaxing. He's not trying to control, he's just there, holding space. Similarly, we're just perceiving as we breathe in, we're just relaxing as we breathe out. That is symbolized by this couple right here. Let's practice. We're going to sow the seeds of joyful enthusiasm, the sixth fold of the eightfold path, by chanting the following triplet. Palms together, hands together in a puckered palm position in front of her sternum. It is extremely difficult to find such freedom and opportunities as we have. It is extremely difficult to find such freedom and opportunities as we have. It is extremely difficult to find such freedom and opportunities as we have. Oh, I'm pushing the wrong button. That was weird. So now let us remove the first of two metaphoric training wheels and reduce our exercise from 12 syllables down to 3. As we inhale, we can silently and mentally recite "Notice this," and as we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite "Relaxing." There will be times when it feels like our circumstances or our body or our relationships or our mind is trying to beat us up and take our lunch money. When that happens, it can be useful to play with perceptual labels. Now our job, we do not play with these labels to make adversity go away. We play with these labels to help us to make peace with adversity so that we cease to exhaust ourselves resisting it and instead can harness it. So for instance, if you feel uncomfortable physically, you could play with the label sensation as you breathe in and continue working with relaxing as you breathe out. Our job is not to perfectionistically strive to find the perfect label in the perfect amount of time. Remember, life is messy. We were born naked, screaming, and covered in filth. Meditation is messy too. Give yourself permission to have a shallow learning curve. Contemplating impermanence helps us to see the futility of indulging our controlling tendencies. Being impermanent, everyone who was born will die. Being impermanent, everyone who was born will die. Being impermanent, everyone who was born will die. We're now going to remove the second of two metaphoric training wheels. As we inhale, we are wired to perceive during each inhalation. To step out of our own way, during our inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. During each exhalation, we're wired for physical relaxation as well as mental release. To step out of our own way during each exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite the monosyllabic verb ease, which functions as a synonym for relax. Oops, wrong bet. Sorry, kids. Transitioning from three-syllable labels down to one-syllable labels can require some poetic license. When we are experiencing strong physical sensations, we could play with the noun form. When we're experiencing strong emotions, we could play with the verb feel. When we are experiencing a strong recollection, we could play with the preposition then. When we are feeling strong fantasy, strong imagining, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, we could use the verb dream. Despite the lies of those who love power more than humanity, we are not powerless. We can do things. We can cause people stress, or we can comfort people. And so in remembrance of that, we could recite. The results of all virtuous and harmful actions are inevitable. The results of all virtuous and harmful actions are inevitable. The results of all virtuous and harmful actions are inevitable. Excuse me. It's a mistake to lie to ourselves about what we're experiencing. The more honest we are about our own stress, more empathy we will experience for others. The three realms we experience are some sort of cycle or like a notion of suffering. The three realms we experience are some sort of cycle or like a notion of suffering. The three realms we experience are some sort of cycle or like a notion of suffering. It is now embrace enthusiasm. Remembering this made my mind turn toward Dharma. Remembering this made my mind turn toward Dharma. Remembering this made my mind turn toward Dharma. We now are going to consider embracing the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. We're going to do this. We could do this, it's up to you, while performing geriatric step back squat thrusts. That's for arthritic. Do you love our push-up handles? From now until I reach the very heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in the Lama who embodies the three jewels. From now until I reach the very heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in the Lama who embodies the three jewels. From now until I reach the very heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in the Lama who embodies the three jewels. Oof. And now let's rest the mind. Let us exercise the neural pathways responsible for empathy. From now until samsara is emptied, may I bring about benefit and happiness for all beings as if they have each been my kind mothers. From now until samsara is emptied, may I bring about benefit and happiness for all beings as if they have each been my kind mothers. From now until samsara is indeed, may I bring about benefit and happiness for all beings as if they have each been my kind mothers. 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path pertains to wishing love, as well as kind communication, kind conduct, and kind commerce. To perfect the two accumulations, I offer the body's wealth and splendor of all my lives to the three jewels. To perfect the two accumulations, I offer the body's wealth and splendor of all my lives to the three jewels. To perfect the two accumulations, I offer the body's wealth and splendor of all my lives to the three jewels. Again, we're going to perform some energy work. Please place your hands in the puckered palm position overhead. Dorje Samba, inseparable from my Lama, is above the crown of my head. Nectar flows from him, purifying my obscurations on Vajrasattva. Dorje Samba, inseparable from my Lama, is above the crown of my head. Nectar flows from him, purifying my obscurations on Vajrasattva. Dorje Sampa, inseparable from my Lama, is above the crown of my head. Nectar flows from him, purifying my obscurations on Vajrasattva. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we notice during our previous inhalation could feel as non-graspable as a vastum devoid. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although compelling to the eye, is not graspable to the hand. We're going to play with the first 4 of 8 mantra meditations. The focus of these, or the common denominator of these 4 mantra meditations, would be awareness and letting go. We're going to begin by verbally chanting a rather lengthy rhetorical question before silently and mentally reciting a concise version of the same question. If you've just joined me, welcome aboard. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. Puckered palms before your sternum. How is it that as we inhale all calm and lots our circumstances could appear quite vivid? Yet as we relax into our purifying exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable as a real or imagined paradise or vati of light. Why do we work with similes and metaphors? Because we are wired to think symbolically. And now for the mantra meditation. As we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite the concise version of the same rhetorical question. As we exhale, and this is important, physically relax as best you can while chanting this 6-syllable mantra. Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum. And now let's rest the mind. How is it that as we inhale our common bodies, our forms could feel quite sensual? Yet as we relax into our purifying exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable as a real or imagined octopolyedom of light. Om Vajra Sattva Hum 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 Om Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Om Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum Vajra Sarva Hum How is it that as we inhale the interpersonal experience of common communication, or speech could be quite resounding? Yet as we relax into our purifying exhalation, it could feel as non-graspable as a real or imagined mantra of light. Om Vajra Sarva 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 How is it that as we inhale we could perceive mind's common functions clearly? Yet as we relax into our purifying exhalation, they could feel as not graspable as a real or imagined seed-settled bloom of light. Om Vajra Sattva 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 Please place your hands before your sternum in the puckered palm position. Dissolving into light, I'm in mind, mother and father, blend with me an experience of hot oneness. Dissolving into light, mother and father, time in mind, mother and father, dissolve into me an experience of hot oneness. Dissolving into light, time in mind, mother and father, blend with me an experience of hot oneness. Place your hands in the puckered palm position overhead. How am I like torching all shore in the sky in front of me? My rude Lama could appear in the form of Padmakara. How am I like torching all shore in the sky in front of me? My rude Lama could appear in the form of Padmakara. How am I like torching all shore in the sky in front of me? My rude Lama could appear in the form of Padmakara. Embodiment of all Buddhas of the three times most excellent Rude Lama, I pray to you. Embodiment of all Buddhas of the three times most excellent Rude Lama, I pray to you. Embodiment of all Buddhas of the three times most excellent Rude Lama, I pray to you. Hold me with your compassion in this and future lives, and in the border, bless me always throughout the 3 times. Hold me with your compassion in this and future lives, and in the border, bless me always throughout the 3 times. Hold me with your compassion in this and future lives, and in the border, bless me always throughout the 3 times. How are our circumstances like Dorje Naljor's circumstances? They are appearing yet non-graspable. So for the next 4 mantra meditations, we're going to practice love and letting go. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have their safety, good fortune, or boon, as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or Vanti. Om Ahum Vararo Guru Manmaziri 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 How are our bodies like Dorje and Naljor's body? As we breathe in, our bodies could feel sensual. As we relax into our exhalation, they could feel non-graspable. May all bodies of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health depicted in Buddhist thought. Of the blissful body of a yidam of lore and archetype of enlightenment. Umahum Vajro Guru Manmaziri Umahum Vararo 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 Guru Manmaziri That was our speech, like Dorje Naljar's speech. As we breathe in, our experience of communication could be rather resounding, and as we relax into our exhalation, it could feel non-graspable. May all relationships of all beings now be as loving and joyful as a real or imagined Buddha's communication symbolized by this 12-syllable mantra. Umahum Vararo Guru Manmaziri 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 Umau Vararo Guru Manmaziri Umau Vararo Guru Manmaziri Umau Vararo Guru Manmaziri Umau Vararo Guru Manmaziri Welcome to this morning's live stream. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. And now let us rest our mind. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. And as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite the monosyllabic verb ease, which functions as a synonym of relax. How are our minds like that of Dorje Naljor? As we breathe in, we could experience our minds rather clearly, and as we relax into our exhalation, those exact same minds could feel less graspable. May all minds of all beings now be as wise and peaceful as the mind of a Buddha of law sympathized by a bija one syllable seed mantra a clay drop. Om Vararo Guru Manmaziri 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 So let's place our hands before our sternum in the puckered palm position. May I receive all the blessings and empowerments of enlightened form, speech, and mind. May I receive all the blessings and empowerments of enlightened form, speech, and mind. May I receive all the blessings and empowerments of enlightened form, speech, and mind. Please place your puckered palms before your forehead as together we invoke the empowerment of Vairochana Karma Mudra. Benzo Guru Kaya Wakati Tasiri Hum. Please place your right hand palm up in your lap and your left hand palm up on top of that as we invoke the empowerment of Amagosati Karma Mudra. Benzo Guru Kaya Wakati Tasiri Hum. Let us place our puckered palms before our throat as we invoke Amitama Karma Mudra's empowerment. Benzo Guru Kaya Wakati Tasiri Hum. Let us place the center of our left palm over our navel and the center of our right palm over that, as together we invoke the empowerment of Ratnasambhava Karma Mudra. Benzo Guru Kaya Wakati Tasiri Hum. Let us place our puckered palms before our sternum as together we invoke the empowerment of Akshobhya Karma Mudra. Benzo Guru Kaya Wakati Tasiri Hum. The Lama dissolves into light and blends with me. The Lama dissolves into light and blends with me. The Lama dissolves into light and blends with me. In our heart's inseparability, I behold the true face of the ultimate Lama. In our heart's inseparability, I behold the true face of the ultimate Lama. In our heart's inseparability, I behold the true face of the ultimate Lama. The union of spontaneous awareness and emptiness. The union of spontaneous awareness and emptiness. The union of spontaneous awareness and emptiness. We rehearse the poa transference of consciousness at the time of death, where our very subtle mind shoots up our central channel, out our crown, and into the vast expanse. Please place your hands in the puckered palm position overhead. I pray to the protector, Amitabha, bless me that I may master the profound path of Pawape. I pray to the protector, Amitabha, bless me that I may master the profound path of Pawape. I pray to the protector of me, Talpa, bless me that I may master the profound path of Pawampe. Sacred palms before the sternum. I now give my body, wealth, and virtuous qualities wholeheartedly to all beings as if they had each been my kind mothers. I now give my body, wealth, and virtuous qualities wholeheartedly to all beings as if they had each been my kind mothers. I now give my body, wealth, and virtuous qualities wholeheartedly to all beings as if they had each been my kind mothers. Let us seal this practice with a bit of the old love. Without hindrance may I ensure enormous benefit for all beings. Without hindrance may I ensure enormous benefit for all beings. Without hindrance may I ensure enormous benefit for all beings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 and a quarter hours, I would very much like to return to lead this evening's meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.